Immigration can give substantial economic benefits, a more flexible labor market, greater skills base, increased demand, and a greater diversity of innovation. However, immigration is also controversial, and there is also an ongoing debate whether or not immigration of unskilled workers lead to downward pressure on wages and even on employment of native workers. Well, that is the focus of our conversation today on the show. But that's in a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We did all this at the expense of our lives, placing national interest ahead of any narrow, parochial or personal gain.
Providing an overview of the Command's 2022 scorecard, Hussein Ejibono, Acting Area Controller, Federal Operations Unit, Zone A, says that sustained anti-smuggling efforts, zero tolerance for duty evasion, and diligent facilitation of trade yielded positive results. Among the items intercepted during the year 2022, rice topped the list with 93,103 bags of 50 kg foreign parboiled rice smuggled through various means.
Rice is the major item that is being smuggled now. And for the whole year of 2022, we succeeded in intercepting about 93,000 bags of rice. That is about 156 trailer loads. And with this ingenious concealment, you will now discover that they are trying to use other means to beat our personnel on the road. So that by the time when someone comes in with about 20, 30 tires of this, you know how many bags that could be.
Aside from this, there have also been incorrect classifications and untrue declarations of absolutely prohibited items, as well as the constant interception of illicit drugs like cannabis.
Criminals, they are always criminals. For them to live illegal trade for legitimate trade, it takes time. The fact that we are able to make arrests shows our vigilance. It shows our zeal and enthusiasm that we deploy to do the job professionally. And that is why you are seeing this.
It is being suggested that stiffer penalties for smuggling illicit and prohibited items are necessary to deter smugglers.
Months after the House Committee on Power rounded off work on a bill to amend the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act, it is holding this legislative sitting to hear from state governors whose input had yet to be included. The bill seeks to provide legal and institutional framework for the implementation of rural electricity projects. It also aims at establishing the National Power Training Institute and regulatory provisions to strengthen the sector for efficient service delivery.
The constitutional provision that give them the right to form a regulatory agency like Nigerian Regulatory Electricity Agency. So they want this in individual states. That's all what we sit today to consider.
Electricity workers used the opportunity of the gathering to draw attention to the recent alleged indiscriminate increase in electricity tariffs imposed on consumers by the Regulatory Commission. But the minister claims ignorance of any such development. The workers' union and the sector also kicked against the over 3 trillion naira injected by the federal government into the privatized electricity companies owned by individuals without commensurate increase in power generation in the last 10 years.
When you come up with a tariff and you say it is service reflective, and the person that determines whether you are giving him service or not does not make any input, you know, that, oh, I have really received service. Or you give me 20 naira and you say it's based on service reflective. And I'm saying that you have not given me service. We have to balance that.
The National Assembly fully comprehends the enormity of the work that needs to be done to rejig the national electricity supply industry NESI and the urgency to fast track and deliver adequate electricity to Nigerians.
In its presentation, The Governors Forum seeks the right for states to establish electricity markets for themselves, especially with the deregulation of the Regulatory Commission.
Laws and establish markets for the generation, transmission, system operation, distribution and supply of electricity within their respective territories and subject to the transitional provisions contained in item 14.
Why don't we have a board for NAC? Why don't we have members of the labor market in the NAC's committee? So that's exactly what we are debating today.
The House Committee on Power has promised to look through the 15-point demands of the state governors.
Well, many thanks indeed for staying with us. This is Business Week. Let's head on now to our big conversation on the show today, shall we? The world before the COVID-19 pandemic, which now seems to so long ago, was radically different in many ways. In fact, our ways of relating to each other, having fun or living our daily lives was not the same. But the pandemic has generated a certain sense of helplessness in global society, and many of our life priorities have been recalibrated. For instance, security has now overtaken purely economic factors on the rights, and that, of course, has led to the changes and the programs. But now the other attractions have emerged: security, access to world-class healthcare, reliability of infrastructure, risk management, or most importantly, stability for families. And that's the crux of our big conversation on the program today. And my guest spent over a decade as a business re-engineer and wealth manager across West Africa and the continent, and currently serves as the country manager for Rif Trust, Nigeria, Mr. Zuberu Kadiri. And well, Mr. Kadiri is currently a board member of the Franchise Business Development Services and a faculty member of African Franchise Institute, an affiliate of the International Franchise Association, both currently operating from Lagos, Nigeria. Mr. Kadiri, it's such a delight to speak with you. Allow me to start by saying congratulations are absolutely in order for Rif Trust's recent partnership with St. Lucia as their global marketing agent. But just how does that make you feel, and what exactly does this mean for Nigerians, especially in a new year?
Well, thank you very much. Since we opened our Nigerian office in Lagos last year, being a member of our worldwide group of 22 offices, we have continued to focus on our interest to provide strategic collaboration value for both governments and individuals of countries where we are represented and where we try to build relationships for the short, medium, and the long term. St. Lucia is one amazing country that is looking to establish that relationship, extend her citizenship to other nationalities, as well as establish strategic collaborative relationships with governments. And this is where we come in to help bridge that gap to ensure that we are able to deliver value through the citizenship by investment channel, as well as provide timely services in terms of consultation, timely turnaround time to achieve the citizenship, as we help people who see the need for global access choose a St. Lucian citizenship.
All right, what a good way to start, Mr. Kadiri. But let's continue our conversation, and let me ask you, because in 2022, the year was filled with stories of Nigerians leaving the country, or as we call it here on the continent, on this part of the continent, people had to Japa. And why would you say a good number of Nigerians are seeking global opportunities outside the shores of the country?
Well, to be honest, Japa is not a Nigerian syndrome. It is a global syndrome, especially since the advent of the COVID pandemic. A lot more people are beginning to see the limitations their existing identity has created for them, and the need for more, especially the crave for global access, has made people realize that there are certain challenges that they need to be able to overcome. In our line of work, we call it speed. People are seeking for speed, and speed is simply an acronym for security, privilege, exemption, endowment, and dominion. Let me break that down. Security, because people want to be able to have options in their identity, where if they find themselves in a scenario where one identity is limiting them in their quest for a better life, better quality of living, access to investment. They can harness the opportunity another citizenship will give them. Same thing as privilege, which is the P in speed. Privilege because, well, some other nationalities are required to apply for a visa. Other people enjoy visa-free access to those sought-after locations. Privilege across many sectors, whether it's from the educational sector to the business sector, privilege is big, which is why, like I explained now, exemption, which is the third E, it's a big challenge for some people by virtue of their nationality, which they didn't choose, but they have to live with the burden that comes with that nationality. They do not enjoy exemption benefits. For example, they are required to stay in the line, wait longer when others are cutting through the line when they come into special places. Endowment because the benefit of bilateral collaborations between countries have seen business exchanges between those countries citizens of those countries enjoy a lot more by just harnessing those bilateral exchanges, so that by being a nationality of a certain identity, you enjoy certain privileges and certain endowments in terms of access to credit, access to finance, taking advantage of school quotas and exchange programs, just to mention a few. So we see that a lot of people are looking to take advantage of global access and improve their quality of living, their access to invest.
All right, Mr. Kadiri, I mean, the new year is already here, 2023, but what exactly are the trends you have observed from clients looking to obtain a second citizenship or residency?
One thing about the Japa conversation is that people are only tracking one side of the conversation, which is the mass exodus of people leaving the country. But what a lot of people are also not tracking is the amount of people also coming into the country, foreigners, Nigerians returning to the Nigerian economy to establish businesses here. It will interest you to see the statistics of new business that are also being registered in Nigeria at the same time when we are tracking the amount of people who are leaving the country in search for better quality of living or for any other reason they may seek other economies. If you balance out the equation, it will show you statistically that it is a very balanced ecosystem where we are seeing a lot of returnees, a lot of foreign investment coming into our economies. At the same time, we are seeing a lot of people looking at opportunities abroad. The beauty and the value of this is that it's not peculiar to Nigeria. It happens in most economies around the world, especially where they have a critical population in the middle class who are very educated, who are very exposed, and are seeking better quality. The advantage of that is the people who are returning, for example, right now in foreign investments, foreign investors or Nigerians, many of them probably left here years ago, have gone outside the Nigerian space to build businesses, build some form of access to credit, technical know-how, and now they are reinvesting it back into the economy. So we personally know that this conversation is not a one-sided one. Many people talk about the Japa syndrome, but it's not a full picture of what is really going on in the market, because there's also another side that is happening that many people are not talking about, even though the data is available for us to track. It may be very interesting to find out that, now this is speculative, but it may be interesting to know that the number of businesses, new businesses being registered may even be more than the number of people leaving the economy are skilled higher, for example. Oh, so wow. These are facts that need to be compared together to show whether really do we have a mass exodus happening on the one side, whereas there's also a foreign direct investment, return of capital, return of IP properties in terms of intellectual technical know-how into our economy as well. And these conversations need to be had side by side so that we have a balanced approach.
I'm also curious to ask you, just how does seeking global access or opportunities impact the local economy? For instance, here, when people have talked about the issues around brain drain, for instance, how does that leave us perhaps in a more terrible state as a country?
So they need access, and they have to first be able to bridge a location where recommended financial system before a lot of those funds can be repatriated to Africa to provide value in terms of technical know-how, infrastructural set up and building systems to ensure that the solution that they are providing for the world, especially the African market, is being harnessed. We see that happen in the real estate sector, in the tech sector, in the hospitality sector, and I can tell you for free that if you track the data, this is making a significant impact. There is a lot of capital repatriation also happening thanks to people acquiring other nationalities, other citizenships, and using these opportunities of new identities to get access to credit, access to strategic collaboration, new businesses, the tech funding drive that you are seeing happening in economies. A lot of them are driven by what you would call Nigerian returnees or foreign direct investors who see the value of bringing those investments. Those opportunities were not usually being able to be harnessed until people started to invest.
Oh, yes, I totally agree with you. But there is also a general notion now that you have to be an HNI to have a second citizenship. Is this notion true? Plus, are there opportunities for middle-income earners, perhaps to also seek this change of environment?
First and foremost, a lot of citizenship programs are not trying to relocate most times. Some do, but to a large extent, a good percentage of them, well over 80 to 90% of them, are not really looking to relocate. They assess these things for global access. Now, to come to the question you asked, there is a misconception that our programs are designed primarily for HNIs. Not really true, because the minimum entry place for most of our programs will start at $100,000. And we found out that a lot of upwardly mobile middle-class people are taking advantage of these programs because they are focusing on global access. They want to be able to harness global economies, build strategic collaborations, extend their business, seek better quality of living for them, their words, when the time needs to. And to harness all these, they go for a second citizenship or a second residency for them and their words, just to expand their, like I said, their speed. They want to gain speed in the global access economy that they are trying to harness. And this price point is a function of the desire and the need. It is not primarily a HNI product, even though we do have a lot of HNIs who have signed up for our programs. But these programs are designed for upwardly mobile, middle-class people, to HNIs who are looking to assess things that are beyond our current shores, including harnessing opportunities when it comes to investment, healthcare, education, employment, and all of this. Those are the people we primarily target with these programs. And many of them may not fall into the HNI cadre, but they are businesses. And today we have onboarded a good thousands of them on the program who may not meet the classification of a HNI, just to debug that mindset that it is a HNI service.
And I wonder, Mr. Kadiri, what exactly would you describe as your top 10 programs last year, 2022, as an organization? And just to add a part two to that question will be the fact that what programs do you foresee Nigerians engaging in this year, 2023?
We offer both citizenship and residency programs. Our top best-selling citizenship programs will definitely be the Caribbean programs because of the very sweet benefits that the Caribbean programs offer. First and foremost, out of the 13 Caribbean countries out there, we provide services for 5 of the Caribbean countries. These countries are St. Lucia, which we currently are the global marketing agency, St. Kitts, Grenada, Dominica, and Antigua and Barbuda. Now, these 5 countries I just mentioned are a top 33 most powerful passport in the world, which means you are going to enjoy visa-free access to over 1 citizenship. They are the top-selling citizenship programs currently available in the market space, and we find out that most of the applications we are receiving or requiring for interest are in these Caribbean countries, primarily because one, the entry price point is very friendly. Their programs are the most affordable in the market. The turnaround time to citizenship is very fantastic, and many of them do not require you to have a physical presence in those countries, and the documentation requirements for you to meet the minimum, tick the boxes for you to qualify for the citizenship are quite friendly to our environment in terms of documentation. So Those are the reasons why they are a top sell. For residency programs, best-selling programs we have done, especially in the last 2 years, will be the Portugal residency program, the Spanish residency program. We have also seen a high influx into the UK startup visa program. And then for Malta, Malta has a residency program that ultimately leads into a citizenship program over a period of time. So it's the Malta residency and citizenship program. These are the programs that have been the top sellers on the list of countries where people are seeking second citizenship or residency in our books.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a new year, as we've, of course, mentioned over and over again. I wonder what your recommendations would be, of course, to the leadership and, of course, the Nigerian government in making sure that we create an environment that is desirable to foreigners, of course, to acquire the passports.
Global image management is a function of bilateral collaborations, and my recommendation will always be to the Nigerian government to continue to invest in building bilateral collaborations, exchanges that ensure that our citizens are able to harness benefits, whether they are socio-economic benefits from exchange programs, ease of doing business programs with certain nationalities. This would help to increase and improve the relationship between us. For example, we have a budding tech industry right now that requires a lot of technical support and technical collaboration. So they are always looking for strategic collaborations with partners from other nationalities, developing programs like a special talent visa for us to be able to create an environment that allows these people to come here and bring the technical know-how to support our tech ecosystem will be amazing. Improving our policies on ease of doing business will also be something that is very worthwhile to help ensure that strategic collaboration is happening on every front. And this automatically impacts on our tourism industry, on our healthcare industry, on our retail industry, because all these people coming to our economies require basic necessities to continue to live and thrive here. And there is a mass macroeconomic impact on these strategic collaborations in our economy. So my recommendation to our government is to continue to harness those channels and ensure that people can take advantage of these, for other nationalities can take advantage of these channels.
And it's a fine place to anchor our conversation with you, Country Manager for Rif Trust, Nigeria, Mr. Zuberu Kadiri. Always a pleasure to speak with you here on Business Week.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kelly.
Well, that conversation with Mr. Kadiri does it for us here on this edition of Business Week. Thank you indeed for watching. I am Kelly Egiga, and I'll see you again next time. Bye now.